Great. Well, let's go ahead and start. As I was saying, everybody, again, this Kickstart Present series is our webinar today is to getting to know the Research Triangle ecosystem, and this three wonderful organizations that can help you launch, fund, and grow your company. And today we're going to have, again, three presentations. The first one is going to be from the North Carolina Biotechnology Center. So here we have with us Tracy Delaney, who is the Senior Director of Science and Technology Development at the NCBiotech Center, and she manages the portfolio of research grant and funding programs that are designed to advance all this promising scientific and technologies developed in North Carolina. And here at UNC, we've been very, very fortunate that a lot of our projects and startups have been funded by the NCBiotech Center, and we hope that continues in the future. So we really invite everybody here in the audience to think and learn about what these opportunities are, because they're critical in funding, the gaps in the stages where it's really difficult for early stage startups and early stage technologies to get funding. And a little bit about Tracy. She has a degree in biochemical engineering from Duke. She also has a master's in biomedical engineering from UT Austin, and a PhD in biomedical engineering from Duke, as well as being a postdoctoral fellow at UNC-Chapel Hill. Then the next session is going to be from the SBTDC, which is the Small Business and Technology Development Center. And we have Nicole Treberg, hope I'm not mispronouncing your last name, Nicole, and she's the Director of Technology Development and Commercialization at SBTDC. She also has a great team that I hope she also talks about a little bit later on in her talk about a new team member that is also very focused on working with the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill. And she has this team that helps assist the formation and grow businesses based on technological innovations. And they provide all sorts of tactical advice and pre-venture entities, as well as startups and small businesses here in North Carolina. And her team in particular works with entrepreneurs like the ones that we work with at Kickstart in the life sciences and others to develop the technology commercialization and identify and leverage strategic resources within the community and support student engagement. A little bit about Nicole. She holds an undergraduate in degrees in math and biology at Alexander von Humboldt School, Mexico City, a master's degree in biomedical sciences at the University of Amsterdam, and a PhD from the Gillis School of Public Health at UNC-Chapel Hill. She also completed a postdoctoral fellowship at the UNC School of Medicine. And last but not least, we're gonna have the Director of Programs, Emil Range from First Flight Ventures, also joining us to talk about what they do at First Flight and all the resources they have. Emil in particular is, the Director of Programs at a new health and security accelerator that is at First Flight at the moment. And he's really helping connect all the ecosystem, with all the innovative solutions also, as well as water. He's going to be talking a little bit about that and, some of the opportunities you can take advantage of today. And he has performed a lot of search and outreach activities for this promising health security innovations in the Triangle region and throughout the Southeast. Meeting with developers and technology evaluations, establishing all these collaborations and events with BARDA. So again, you should really listen into that, because that's going to be wonderful opportunities for you today. Again, a little bit about Emil. He has consulted, advised, and assisted in the federal, state, and local level of in multiple official, appointed as official in multiple capacities, at the federal, state, and local level. And he has helped improve public policy solutions and strategic initiatives here in the region, as well as political and governmental arenas. And most of the last decade, he has helped develop and improve innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystems. And again, he has done wonderful things here in the Triangle. So we really look forward to hearing from the three. In the interest of time, let's go ahead and start. Tracy, if you don't mind going first.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And so who are we? We are NCBiotech, the North Carolina Biotechnology Center. We've been around for over 35 years. We are a 501c3 funded by the state of North Carolina. So we have two primary funding units within the Biotechnology Center. These are University Technology Development, which is Science and Technology Development Group. That's what I am a member of. We also have our Emerging Company Development Group, which takes your startups and takes your entrepreneurs forward. So what we try to do is present a continuum of opportunities for funding from the very basics of research, which is our Innovation Impact Grant, which is equipment for core facilities, and work them all the way up through our Translational Research Grant, which is pre-commercialization work, so that we can then hand you off to our colleagues down the hall, if we actually had a hallway any longer, down in emerging company development, so that when you become an entrepreneur and a startup, we can make the introductions to our company group. And one of the questions we get often asked is, how do we define life sciences and what do we fund? So these are some examples of the life sciences sectors that my group, Science and Technology Development, funds. And we go everywhere from pharmaceuticals to precision health, which is AI and data, industrial biotechnology, food, animals, agriculture, all of that comes under our purview of quote unquote life sciences. Now, what we don't fund, and this is very important, we do not fund consumer products. Basically, our motto is it has to be regulated in some way for us to fund it. Now, a lot of food products, they have to go through the FDA, but that's the core thing that I want everyone to take away today, is that we do not fund consumer products. So we're more than happy to make introductions if you have a consumer product, but that's not what we are going to fund in our grants department. So for fiscal 2021-22, which starts July 1, for us, we will be bringing forward 3 grant programs. We have our Innovation Impact Grant, which is equipment for core facilities. We have the definition of a core facility up on our website. I'm not going to go into it now. All of this information can be found on our website as well, ncbiotech.org/grants. So our equipment grant awards up to $150,000 for a piece of equipment in a core facility. There is one deadline per year. It is generally in the September-October timeframe. We have not publicized or even decided what our deadlines for next year will be. And so we encourage everyone to check back in the May-June timeframe for our full calendar of deadlines for the year. So our next grant on that continuum is our Flash Grant. These are micro grants that are designed to fund current, really novel, really cutting edge, truly different and unique ideas. So we're looking for those ideas that you have a little bit of data for and a good reason to think it'll work, but you are not there yet on being able to apply for funding from someone else. This is really proof of concept, really early stage. I have an idea. I want to throw something at this and get some data to really get a go, no-go decision made on whether it's worth pursuing at a higher level. So there are 3 cycles per year of the Flash Grant. And of those, the topics are decided on an RFP style offering. So each cycle will have a different topic and a different scientific endeavor to be eligible for our grants. And we understand everybody wants to apply for every cycle. Eventually we will come around to your technology. We hear it all the time, and we react very quickly to current events for our RFPs. So, for example, last March, we all shut down, we all went home, and we immediately launched our flash grant to be COVID specific. And that is the beauty of the flexibility of these flash grants. They target what is current, what is important, and what is hot. So again, if if you don't match the RFP this time, just wait. We'll get there. And then our large grant, really, this is our true pre-commercialization grant. That's our translational research grant. There are 2 cycles per year, usually late August, early September, and then January, February timeframe for each cycle. And these are truly our team-based, milestone-driven pre-commercialization projects. And that's where it's key. This is a project. This is not basic research. You're not testing 300 conditions. You are looking for what is your product? What is your market? How do we develop this technology to get out or to see if it's worth getting out? We're really looking for those milestones that are go, no go decision points. Do you bring this line of research forward? Is it going to meet a market demand? Now, this is all still within the university. The IP still has to be held within the university. But we are really looking for faculty who want to develop their technology for a commercial application. And for all of our grants, we're looking for projects. We are not looking for lines of research. We are looking for projects. We want goals, but we don't want aims per se. We want milestones, go no decision points. We're looking for concrete study controls, endpoints, success thresholds, and contingency plans. We want to see what impact you're going to have on the state of North Carolina. That's what we fund. And we are looking for a degree of fit with our program specific goals. And that's mostly for those RFP driven ones. Don't give me a pharmaceutical if I'm looking for a food product. I'm just going to have to tell you no, and I'm sorry. And the other point we like to make is that we are very approachable. Engage SciTech staff early in the process. We are not the NIH. This is not a random program manager that you just shoot off emails to. Talk to us. We'll walk you through exactly what we're looking for. We will do consultations. We will talk about your ideas. Now, after you get through a translational research grant and you're ready to launch your company, we have our emerging company development group available to you. And they offer 2 types of loans. These are non-dilutive loans, so they don't really impact how attractive you are to venture capital most of the time. So the small business research loans are the true startup loans. There's quarterly application cycles. They do have a pre-application required for each one. And the eligibility criteria, the really important things to know is that you have to have a North Carolina operating presence. That means somebody here, and someone has to work for the company nearly full time, 20 to 30 hours a week. You cannot be faculty and the CEO and classify that as working for the company. It has to be a dedicated team member. And then once you have your small business research loan, you move into our strategic growth loan, which is the larger loans, which you have had to have met all the SRL requirements, but you also have to have committed matching funds from a qualified investor. And all of that information, again, can be found on our website. I'm not going to go into all the details. I'd take up everybody else's time if I had to go into all the details. So talk to me. I have all my information at the end if you need more definitions, or go to our website. So our loan terms are very generous. They're 5-year fixed, prime plus 2%, variable warrants, and these are tranched loans. You get 50% up front, you hit your midpoint milestones, you get the second 40%, and then 10% at completion. And those are just our funding programs. We do everything else to support researchers in North Carolina. We have event and meeting grants so that you can hold an event or a national or an international meeting. These are $3,000 and $5,000 maximum awards. They're quarterly, and it's dependent, you apply dependent on when your event is going to be. We have our fantastic research librarians in our Life Science Intelligence Unit. They are a resource that is so undervalued, and we cannot talk about them enough. They are fantastic. If you need science, if you need market research reports, they are some of the best in the world to get you the material that you're looking for. We have our jobs board. If you're looking for a job, we have a database of life science jobs across North Carolina. We have a jobs network. If you're looking for a job, we have an event every month that's on looking for a job and networking with people who are also looking for a job, and recruiters and people who have jobs posted on our jobs board are there. We also have many networking events. We have a full calendar of events on our website. We have intellectual exchange groups. If you have a topic of science that you want to know about, we probably have a group for you. These are groups who have science interests from bioprocessing to plant molecular biology. They're all on our website as well. We also have the conference center if you need meeting space or event space. We have so much more, but I don't have time for all of it. So here's my contact information, and I will end right here.
Thank you so much, Tracy. That is great. And again, we'll have time for questions at the end, and we'll discuss a little bit more about the different programs that NCBiotech has. But again, we are so lucky as a region to have these resources available to us. Again, it's a wonderful institution, and I really think everybody should take advantage, not just of the funding programs like Tracy was saying, but also of all the many resources they have available. Thank you so much. And now we're going to move on with Nicole's portion and talking about SBTDC. Nicole, again, welcome. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Mariah and Kickstart team and Kickstart Ventures team. Let me share my presentation. And so again, thanks so much for having me on this afternoon and being able to speak to my home armor audience at UNC-Chapel Hill. Definitely miss being there after 12 years. I left in 2015, but I still feel very connected, and I will speak to you about this just in a little bit. So first of all, a little more about SBTDC, because it's a very complex organization, yet is very strong, mostly because of our long history being in North Carolina. But first of all, so we are a business advisory resource, and we advise businesses on how to grow, but also on how to develop a business. So most of our assistance is very holistically looking at the whole business. We have about 110 staff members in the state of North Carolina, of which 90 are business counselors. So these are people who actually will assist you directly. You can meet with us one-on-one and ask us questions. We provide very in-depth business advising and counseling and technical assistance. But we also work very well with all our partners, including the North Carolina Biotechnology Center, First Flight Venture Center, NCIDEA, Kickstart, so you name it. And we are available to all of North Carolina, entrepreneurs, independent small businesses. Our services are free of cost for you. However, they're prepaid by your tax dollars. So we are not free. It's just you paid for us. So it's only in your interest to connect to us because you pretty much already paid for your services. And we assist all small businesses under 500 employee, but I'm sure none of you right now is above that threshold, maybe quite there, the biotech center, but not quite sure about that. So what do I mean with we provide services and businesses? So if we look to grow a business from really early on to like really large 500 people, and I have this here on this timeline, business, we all need to grow. We start very small. So we have a team which is called the launch team. And we have a 4-week seminar series, which is 2 hours once a week in the afternoon, about how do you launch your business? How do you take the leap? How do you identify a market? How do you know whether you need a team, you don't need a team? What sort of funding do you need? What are my long-term goals? How do I look for customers? How do I engage with our resource partners? Again, like First Flight Venture Center, North Carolina Biotechnology Center. Do I have to do it all alone? What's the funding? So once you kind of get your mind around that and we can help you with the launch team, then specifically for the audience today, you might have some intellectual property attached to your business. What's the value of that? How important is it? Is it the most important thing, or are there any other questions? How about facilities, funding, financing, your team, personnel, marketing, manufacturing? So this whole gamut. We have 90 people all around the state. One of them, I'm sure, can answer your question. And more specifically, I think my team members can answer some of your questions, including myself. But what then? So let's say you got it, your IP is protected. Kickstart was awesome in helping you to get out there, to be on your feet. And you think, oh my God, I think somewhere there in the world, someone needs our technology. But how do I get there? How about exporting? Can somebody help me and understand what to do? We have a team called the IBD team, International Business Development Team, can assist you with exporting. There are grants to go to conferences overseas, to identify markets overseas. We don't have money to give you. However, we have a lot of knowledge and expertise and staff members who can walk you through this timeline. And even if you're here at the beginning and you want to know what do I do at the end, we're here. We are for free. You sign up and we help you. And Tracy's laughing. And yes, we just have heard it all. Then lastly, procurement. So what if the technology that you invented might be the right fit for the government? Is it a sensor on that airplane? Is it to provide nutrition to the people on Mars? Whatever it is, procurement. We also have a specific team that assists with question on procurement, how to do business with the government. And these are all specialty services. So we try to fill the gaps that a business face in growing. And here are just some ideas. COVID, we also pivoted with COVID. We got some CARES Act funding. We pretty much hired 35 people in this last year to assist with COVID-related matters. Specific to our team, how do you raise money in times of COVID? And I can go into more detail in a minute. But I just wanted to also show you the complexity, and it's, as every business, it's not easy. We have 90 people throughout the state because part of our funding is administered through the system, UNC system. We have offices at each of the universities that belong to the North Carolina system. So is it here in Wilmington? Is it in Greenville at ECU, Elizabeth City, at NC State? Is it in Charlotte? So what I'm trying to say is that we make connections. We have people working at all the universities, which if you need to facilitate something, you want to grow oysters here at the coastline, I'm sure we can facilitate that. You want to hang out in Elizabeth City because it's so cool, want to fly an airplane over there. We have connectivity there. You want to go in the mountains and manufacture something there. What is it, parachutes? We have connectivity there. We have staff members there, offices there. And so next, just give you a brief impact. So we've been around for about 36 years. In the last decade, because we're part of the government, we track every action, we track everything we're doing. So this is just a brief overview of the last decade on clients that we helped, sales that we helped to increase, jobs that were created and retained, and capital that was formed by our clients in this last decade. And so I even can't pronounce all these numbers on there, but I guess you are all a little wiser and more apt than this. So now specifically to our team and also how it relates to you and to Kickstart Ventures. So I'm the director for technology commercialization and development. I'm the team captain of 5 great team members. Again, we have specialties within our team. John, whose office is in Chapel Hill, he has a great expertise and knowledge on SBIRs, STTRs. He's been doing it for almost 2 decades. In my mind, there is nothing he hasn't seen as it relates to SBIRs, STTRs. From all agencies, NIH, DOD, Department of Education, whatever, you name it. We have Mike Carnes, who is also very knowledgeable on SBIRs, but in this last 3 years, he has really focused on equity investment. What do angels look at? What do venture capitalists need? We have a flagship educational program called Entrepreneur IRE, Entrepreneur Ready Investor, or somewhere in that idea. So it's really, if you start a business tomorrow, you need to know where you will be in 5 years. You need to know how you leverage the North Carolina Biotechnology Center, the flash grants, the tech grants, the loans, because these will help you when you want follow-on funding. Again, our team members can assist you, sit down with you, walk you through it, answer any questions. Chris Veal, who is in the Triad area, has great expertise in engineering, textile, airport management. And Brian Denstedt is also in the western region of the state. His expertise is in information technology, vendor management, and everything, marketing, anything that has to do with data security and so on. And then last but not least, our newest member, who actually has an office at the accelerator at UNC downtown at the university, at the accelerator space, at the Kickstart Venture space. It's Rachel. She just came on, started in March, so this month. Her expertise, not that she only owned and grew her own businesses for 2 decades, she has a really strong background in agricultural sciences, pharmaceuticals as well, but also what it takes to start your own business. I think this is a great resource for the university and for all of us. And so lastly, I talk a lot. You can also read all about what I just mentioned to you at our resources, which is a step to start your business, great guides, then funding resource guide, capital opportunity reports. If you ever want to know who administers any funds in the state of North Carolina, look at this report. They're all online as well. We have hard copies. And then lastly, understanding IP. So I co-authored this IP guide about 2 years ago. It's a really comprehensive review on what the value of your IP is, but also what the costs of your intellectual property are. And so it's a really comprehensive guide. And as with everything, you can reach out to us, ask questions, and we walk you through all of these resources that I just mentioned. And I was a little short on my end here. So if you have any questions, SBTDC.org is always the easiest. Ask anyone on the call, ask pretty much anyone. This is how you can reach me. And yeah, my last name, even I can't pronounce it, so don't worry about it. It's something like Nicole Schwerbrock, but if you live in Mexico, nobody ever calls me by my last name. So Nicole is just fine. And with that, thank you so much, and looking forward to getting some questions in a little bit. I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Again, that was great. And we are very, very excited about having Rachel close to us, the proximity to our new wet lab accelerator as well on campus. So we're looking forward to closer collaboration with SBTDC and taking advantage of the wonderful resources that SBTDC has. And like Emil put in the comments, really think that the investor readiness workshops are fantastic. So yeah, so hopefully you keep going with those, because those are wonderful. Thank you so much. And now we really want to go ahead and also again welcome Emil. Thank you so much for participating, and to learn all about First Flight and all the wonderful resources, as well as the new program that he's heading. But they have a lot of things like space that is wonderful for life science and other companies in the triangle. Things to do, maker spaces, and do all sorts of things that Emil is going to talk about. So welcome, Emil. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. It's truly an honor to be on this panel today. Tracy and Nicole are great friends of mine, so I can't thank you enough for going ahead and including me. First Flight, real quick overview. We happen to be celebrating our 30th year as an incubator in North Carolina. So we're looking forward to hopefully having a little bit of socially responsible opportunities to get together later this year for our 30th. So what is First Flight? Who are we? We focus on high science, high impact, early stage science driven companies that are out to change the world. We have 22 labs and 39 offices in our building. And if I look at my watch soon enough, that 22 labs may become 23 labs pretty soon. We typically have anywhere between 30 and 40 early stage science-based companies that are here at any time. And those companies can be in any number of areas in the sciences. Those could be in biotech, ag tech, clean tech. There could be hardware companies. So there are a whole bunch of different types of folks who are wandering the halls. I think we're on occasion that we should probably steal the moniker from USA Network from several years ago in terms of characters welcome. We have an interesting group of folks who are here, which really makes for fun days. And so where are we located? We're located right in the heart of RTP, which makes it great from the standpoint of proximity to the universities within this region. Can you think of a better brand than Research Triangle? Seriously, folks go ahead and give Silicon Valley a whole bunch of love, but when your brand is 3 research universities that are this close to one another, that from my standpoint just goes to the very heart of this region, and we're fortunate to be right here in the heart of it. So what do we do? What are our successes? The companies that have come through First Flight in the last 30 years have generated at least $8 billion in market capitalization. We've had over 400 companies in these 29 to 30 years. I think our 30th anniversary hits later this year, but so don't know if we've actually nudged that number up yet. But in 2019, nearly $36 million in grants from the companies that were at First Flight and $26.5 million in investments for companies that have been here. Some of the companies that have come through here have included United Therapeutics, Athenex, Advanced Liquid Logic, and others. I want to go ahead and highlight Hangar 6, which is our rapid prototyping center, really briefly. It was made possible by an EDA grant. We're currently in a second EDA grant opportunity right now called Build to Scale. That's actually a $2.6 million funding opportunity that'll help bring in additional resources, both from the standpoint of equipment as well as people. And so we probably already got a couple of $100,000 worth of equipment there right now, which will include 3D printers, a machine, a metal working area, woodworking area. It's all geared to specifically help companies work on a prototype. By far the most important assets there, I think, as anyone on this will actually say, it always comes back to the people. And so we happen to have a shop manager who runs it, Sam Durrani, who is phenomenal. He's got nearly 20 years of experience in the design space, and he can help you he can help you determine what the pitfalls are as you're going ahead and designing a product. So I just wanted to go ahead and highlight that as a quick plug. And so you'll see Hangar 6 here really flowing into our overall runway to success that we have at First Flight. So if we're thinking about the specific opportunities that we have at First Flight, we for all the companies that are kind of in the ecosystem, we have this. The companies who are here at First Flight, we have a program called Roundtables, which is specifically geared to, almost refer to it as a CEO therapy session. What's the burning issue that you happen to be facing any particular month? If you're CEO of a startup, it's hard. And so it's nice to be able to say, all right, here's what I'm facing. And then from there, nobody's actually telling you how to do it. They're not giving you advice. They're instead sharing lessons learned. And they're actually also asking you questions so that you can arrive at the solution yourself. We've got our Navigators program. I saw one of our recent navigators to join. Brendan is actually on the call today. So thanks for joining us, Brendan. But our Navigators program is specifically an executive and residence program. It helps our companies go ahead and be in a really good position to go ahead and have that constant insight as to, all right, how do I go ahead and grow my company? And so we make that available to the companies that are residents here at First Flight, again, anywhere between 30 and 40 typically, as well as companies who are co-working companies that happen to be in our footprint. So right here, you've got the co-working. And so with this runway to success, let's go ahead and think about it from a stage standpoint. You've got that ideation stage, the startup stage, the pre-growth stage, and the growth and maturity stage. So here at the co-working level, you may just need a mailbox or something like that to go ahead and actually be in the ecosystem, or you want to be involved with the events because, you know what, it's neat to be part of a community. Again, entrepreneurship can frequently be lonely. And so being able to go ahead and be part of a community where you're able to see, all right, what are some of the things that are going on is really essential to go ahead and help things get up and running. And then we've got the incubator, which is the heart and soul of what we do. We've got the companies that are here on a day in, day out basis. We didn't slow down during COVID-19 just because, quite frankly, when you start doing your lab work in your apartment or down the street, neighbors tend to talk. So we've gone ahead and kept our doors open during this. If you want to go ahead and come by for a tour or something like that, we just ask that you bring your mask and we'll go ahead and show you around. I'm going to go ahead and start highlighting our programs on the Runway to Success to give you a flavor for what those are. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here on the Propeller program. Propeller, again, is an ideation level program. It's specifically geared as a coaching and mentoring through a cohort model. It was recently made possible by NCIDEA. We can't thank them enough. Again, they're phenomenal partners in this entire ecosystem. I just wanted to go ahead and provide an additional shout out to our friends over at NCIDEA for that. Specifically in regards to Propeller, it's based on the Wendy Kennedy Institute methodology, which is focused on so what, who cares, why you. That so what side is you've got your idea. What's the problem you're choosing to solve? And so as you're doing that, you've got your problem. What are the market segmentation? And then that flows into the who cares? Who are your customers? And as you're thinking about who those customers happen to be, you want to go ahead and really think broad about what those look like, so that you have an idea as to what your long-term market capabilities happen to be. But then simultaneously, you're going to go deep on one or two or three of those, so you're able to really start understanding the quantitative and qualitative sides of the customers that you're really looking to go ahead and focus in on. And then the why you is that's your differentiation. What makes you unique? Why should the companies actually be buying from you? And so during all of this, and one of the pieces that's in that in the second stage of who cares is also a financial modeling tool. Sometimes people talk about how the journey, sometimes it's not the destination, it's the journey. Sometimes as you're thinking about your financials, that is also very true. You need to understand how you're going to go ahead and make money, but at the same time, you also want to document your assumptions. So when you're talking to potential investors, or let's say from an SBIR standpoint, let's say you're going after grant opportunities, they want to understand what your assumptions are so that you're able to better tell your story. So I just wanted to again, go ahead and spend a little bit of time on the Propeller program. Here in the Wheels Up, that's a program that we're looking to go ahead and launch in the coming months, maybe a year or so. That's going to be more of a full-fledged 12-week accelerator program. And then over here, I'm going to go ahead and take a bit of time to go ahead and talk about our SBIR program. Briefly here on BARDA. BARDA is the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. Honestly, I'm here today because Nicole gave First Flight a heads up that this was an opportunity. So thank you again, Nicole. But what BARDA does is they focus on matters of national health security. And so, trivial things like global pandemics and chemical, biological, and radiological problems, trivial things like that. And so they'll fund things like therapeutics and diagnostics and vaccines and other things of that ilk to go ahead and help put our nation in a better position to go ahead and address these things. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and touch base on Liftoff and FAST very briefly. Liftoff and FAST. What's cool about all three organizations that are talking today is SBIR, Small Business Innovation Research funding opportunities, are at the heart and soul of some of the things that we do. And one of the things that I tell folks periodically is, how many times have you actually talked to somebody where that's one of the things that we start talking about quickly? And if you're talking to somebody who happens to be talking about it, then you're probably talking to the right folks. And so we've got great partners with SBTDC and NCBiotech. Our Liftoff program was initially made possible by, the first money that came into that was NCBiotech. They provided some matching funds that went ahead and helped make this possible. Over the course of the last 5 years, so in 2014, a quick data point, North Carolina ranked 16th in the country in terms of the number of SBIRs that were awarded. And so SBIRs, if you don't happen to know what they are, federal agencies' R&D budget is over $100 million. Then 3.2% of their budget goes into this bucket called SBIRs. Again, all three of our organizations focus extensively on these. So we ranked 16th, which, given the amount of cool research that comes out in this state, is really low. In 2015, specifically in December, First Flight went ahead and launched the Liftoff program. We've subsidized basically $250,000 in over the course of the last 5+ years, and that's yielded over $16 million in SBIR awards. In 2020, North Carolina ranked 7th in the country in SBIRs. So think about that nine state jump. Now, First Flight's not solely responsible for that jump. SBTDC, NCBiotech, other organizations are all tremendously responsible for that move. But each one of our organizations has showed leadership, because this is important to the companies that are focused on this. The FAST program happens to be funded by the SBA, and we happen to be one of 24 programs, and we use that to try and help get out the word on SBIRs, and we'll specifically have a cohort that's going through as a boot camp on April the 14th and 15th that have, for 35 companies that have been selected in. Anyway, just to go ahead and see our runway to success, this gives you an idea as to where the funding levels would go into that. I think I've filibustered enough, and I'd like to go ahead and hear from my other participants. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing now so that we can actually move on to the panel. But thank you again for the opportunity to present, and it's great to be here with our partners.
Thank you so much, Emil. And yeah, again, like the comments been saying, Hangar 6 is really a wonderful facility, and all the liftoff program is also, you can really see the difference with using grant writing support, and the great successes that you guys have had there is fantastic again, and space, and again, I repeat, we're so lucky to have organizations like the three here on the panel today, as a region. They're really, really wonderful to really serve our community, and we need to take advantage of this. And sometimes it's the lack of awareness that these services even exist that is going to preclude us from taking that. And we want to spread the word that there's so many wonderful programs that all of these institutions are doing, and most of them are free of charge, or like just go ahead and talk to people, and they'll help you and connect you as much as they can. So again, I invite everyone in the audience to ask questions. You can either raise your hand, or we can put them in the chat. Otherwise, in the meantime, I'll start. Go ahead and start with some questions as well. So I'll start with you, Tracy. Obviously, we heard about the different grants and loans programs that the NC Center has. When would be the right time for somebody, a researcher at the university, to apply for one or the other, if they have a startup or not? What is the right way of going in a grant versus a loan program?
So that's a really good question, because it all depends on who controls the IP for us. If the university still holds the IP, it has not been licensed, it has not been optioned, you are eligible for a grant. Doesn't matter, you might have a company, but as long as you haven't licensed or optioned the IP, you are eligible for a grant. Now, our loans require that you have licensed outright the IP for your company. So that forms a really big line right there. Grants go to universities, loans go to companies, and it's based on the status of the intellectual property.
Great, that's fantastic. And thanks for the clarification. We do have a question from one of the participants. So this one is from Mel. And there were questions. The question is, in terms of First Flight's liftoff and FAST programs, how are they different from other commercial assistance services offered for profit companies? Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Yan-Chun. So first of all, the FAST program is specifically, we'll do educational training programs specifically as part of the FAST program. For the boot camp, it helps you go ahead and propel yourself on that process. And so, and a certain number of companies might be selected in to go ahead and help carry that forward. And so the priority of FAST is female-owned, minority-owned, and underserved communities, which could be, for example, rural or parts of the state that have underperformed from an SBIR perspective. So for example, we had a company that won an SBIR last year from Wilmington, Opioid, that had specifically gone through the FAST program and then was selected as a FAST liftoff company to go through that. In regards to liftoff, it's a subsidized grant writing program. We partner with Eva Garland Consulting to specifically do that. And so it's basically somewhat of an economies of scale opportunity. And, there is a success fee as a result of that, which helps continue the funding of the program moving forward. Hopefully that answered the question. If not, feel free to contact me afterwards. I just want to go ahead and be able to provide more times for other questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Emil. Nicole, I mean, you talked a lot about the guidance and support that you can provide for these early stage founders, So can you maybe tell us a little more about that and who they contact? You mentioned you had like the great network throughout the states, but who would be the first point of contact there?
So we try to make the entry point as easy as possible for a large organization. So you can always, of course, contact directly myself, any one of the team members. But the question is more, why would you contact us? And actually, we really want to decrease the barrier as much as possible, meaning just contact sbtdc.org we try to get back with you within 24 hours with someone who can help you. And if it's someone who really is not quite ready to answer your question, we find someone to answer your question. And then, like, more specific, our team, for example, you're just thinking, you're doing your lab work. You think there is some commercial potential, that you think something is going on. So number one, first speak to your Kickstart team. But if you don't want to speak to them, come to us and say, what do I do with this? Our services are, of course, free, but also confidential. So any question that you have, we're not a car dealership. We're not selling anything. We are actually taking the car apart and telling you the value of your car, which maybe you don't want to hear about it, but that's who we are, very pretty honest and direct. But we also try to position you what's best for you and your company. Often when you are at the university, we will ask you a question: where do you want to be in 5 years? Do you want to be a PI, or do you want to run a small business? And that's a very difficult question, but no worries, we'll guide you through it. I hope this answers your question, Mariah.
Great, thank you. And thanks, Judy, for also posting, the link on the chat as well for anybody who's interested. You again, you can complete that online request for counseling, for business counseling there. Tracy, just going back to the question that you mentioned about the intellectual property from the university versus a company, and that kind of seems very clear cut. But maybe tell us a little bit more about how how do you value that technology? I mean, obviously they can go talk to people like Nicole or us, but what does the NC-Biotech Center how do you assess the value of that technology? Any specific IP considerations? Again, we know of the ownership, but anything else that they should take into consideration?
So we're really looking at grantees, grant writers who want to advance to a commercial product. That's really where you're fitting in with our grants system. So at the university level, there's many people who think they want to go to a small business or want to develop a product, who will then talk to Nicole and maybe find out they don't really want to be running the company. Or maybe they do. But in the meantime, our grants are meant to get you thinking about what it's going to take to make a product. We don't expect you to have the marketing done already, but we want you to have something there to say, this is an unmet market need. And that's really where we value the stage of the development, is you've done enough to show that there's a potential for a product, or might be a potential. It's science, it doesn't always work out. But you are starting to look at, what is your market? What would your product bring that isn't already there? What problem are you solving? And we're really looking at that for our grants. So that is often where the invention disclosure goes into the university, and where the university then proceeds to provisional or full patent applications. So we want to help you get your claims for your conversion from your provisional to your patent application. Our grants give you the data to make your claims. Does that make sense?
That is great. And again, when we work together as an ecosystem and all these different stakeholders working together, we can all work towards that. Again, we have advice, we have funding and resources and all connections, even incubation space with First Flight Ventures, where we have ourselves at the university and others in the ecosystem as well. And maybe I wanted to touch on an example. With this, Emil, maybe tell us a little bit. I know you've been supporting one of our startups recently, RM Innovations, and maybe walk us through how maybe you help them reach this critical milestone for them, and what else can you do for startups as well, in line with what Nicole and Tracy have said. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't expecting you to, we chatted earlier, and once we talked, I'm like, I need to go ahead and grab their product. It's actually really cool. And so what are they doing? I don't know if anybody's been wearing masks recently. What they've gone ahead and done is they've created a mask supplement. So what you do here is you've got your mask, it goes on here, it goes over so that you actually provide a seal. And that way, and for those of us who might happen to wear glasses, it doesn't fog. Really good stuff. But it'll actually go ahead and keep the information, keep the air in these contained spaces. So obviously they're going to make sense for the BARDA. So BARDA is going to be doing a mask challenge. We'll be releasing that information. That'll open up on March the 31st. So clearly they're going to make a ton of sense for that. In addition to that, they're already they're starting to manufacture this product. So we went ahead and connected them with the North Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Every state has an MEP. Ours happens to be based at NC State. Connected them with the NC MEP for potential connections as a result of that. To be perfectly honest, I was remiss in one regard. I need to go ahead and make sure that they have Nicole's contact information, because there are also opportunities that they could have to go ahead and connect with SBTDC. So to me, this is just a wonderful example of the cool stuff that happens to be going on. And it's just a matter of going ahead and knowing the network, knowing the connections, so that you're able to go ahead and say, all right, not as though other countries are going to be interested in masks, and we may be able to actually sell those to other countries. So, trying to go ahead and ensure we have some scalability opportunities for the companies that happen to be here. It is a wonderful example of some of the cool things that are going on in terms of the colleges, because this is specifically a spin out from the biomedical engineering program between UNC and NC State. And a quick plug for UNC, the first time that I was actually talking about BARDA was literally September of 2018. UNC went ahead, hosted an event. I had over 120 people that were at that event. And so people are actually talking about BARDA like they know what's going on. And it was because UNC went ahead and hosted a huge event and went ahead and make that possible. So it's literally about the network that goes on here. And then in terms of what NCBiotech's done, good heavens, the LSI group, Tracy was talking earlier about the LSI group, the background information that they've done to go ahead and highlight the companies that have been funded by BARDA, I've shared with the network here so that the companies know what's going on. I have then provided that to the national network, and they're like, oh my heavens, my only request is that you don't put, that you put into this document that this is not funded by BARDA, because people think that it is an official BARDA document, it's that good. So I'm like, no, they should know it's an NCBiotech document because it's that good. So sorry for the filibuster, I'll let it get back to other stuff. That's great, and I'm conscious of the time. So before we go, just any final comments from the three of you, and also, I thought you made it clear, but just do you expect anything for helping the startups or faculty founders in exchange for the services that you provide as well? Yeah. So again, the answer. Our propeller program is $500, and our labs happen to be. If you're a resident here, then there are lease terms that go on there. So there are fees for certain things that we do, yes.
And we do ask that you pay back your loans so that the next startup has funds. It's an evergreen fund. The people who pay back, it's available to the next company that comes along.
And for us, it's the acknowledgement. If we really assisted you, then we like to hear that. If you say, yes, the team was really instrumental in bringing me to this next step, we come back and ask, because our funding comes from the Small Business Administration. We have someone we need to report to, and we want you to get the best service, but it's also nice to get acknowledged so that our funding can come back from the Small Business Administration. I mean, there's, as they always say, there's nothing for free. Yet I think all our services have a really low threshold, and it should be always accessible to you. And also thanks for the great team. I mean, both Mariah and Judy and Holly. I mean, your programming is so valuable even for us, because we really can connect to you through programming like that. I mean, that's how we stay actually knowledgeable on what's going on in your world. And that's important for us as well.
No, again, thank you. Thank you for that. And again, one of our goals is really to just create awareness and all working together, because there's so many valuable things that, again, that sometimes is just like the lack of knowing what's going on and working together, because ultimately we all want to generate fantastic successes from the research at all these great universities and create, wonderful economic growth for the region. And I think we're all working together towards that. So thank you so much. Yeah.